Hello there, everyone. It's December 8th, 2022, but we're talking about Louisiana payroll and Louisiana withholding. Louisiana withholding, I do not believe it is scheduled to change. It's been this way for several years. You can see that the booklet is like 2017 or something. It hasn't changed in a long time. However, it is a deceptively difficult algebraic exercise to get this to formulate correctly. And I've been working on it for years, and I always used to be slightly off, and I finally figured out what the problem was, and I can explain to you how to formulate this now, which is what this video is going to be about. So if you have a small business in Louisiana and you have employees and you want to figure out what their withholding should be, you can use this payroll application in Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets, which is what you're seeing right now in Google Sheets. And I'm formulating all 50 states, and we're all the way down to Louisiana, and we finally got it right. So let's talk about how we got there. First of all, what you need to have your employee fill out is the Louisiana L4. And it's going to just have a few basic questions. Are you single or are you married? And if you're single, you're going to choose the 0 or the 1 when it comes to exemptions or dependents. And if you're married, you have to do the 2. And then you put the number of the dependents in box B. We have placeholders for all of those questions. How many block A exemptions? That's 1 or 2 if you're LA single or LA married, Louisiana single or Louisiana married, not Los Angeles. And then the number of dependents, okay? So that's where you enter in both of these pieces of information, right? That's it. Next, there's a very complicated formula and designations about how they phase out their exemptions and how they apply their rates. And so in order to get it right, you really have to follow this algebra to the letter. And this is what I was able to create. And then we'll go through the example. So I needed a good deal of columns to do this. And this is why. So Louisiana starts right over here. I needed all of these columns from EY to FF because there's a lot of simulations that you have to run. You have to figure out what your total exemptions and dependents amounts are because it matters. If they hit a threshold, different things happen, like a $12,500 threshold or a $25,000 threshold, depending on whether or not you're married or whether or not you're single. And then there's a bunch of algebraic equations that you go through to simulate and do exactly what they say to do. And it involves a lot of parentheses and it involves a lot of diluting stuff into pay periods, really, really technical and complicated. So what I'm just going to show you is how we ran it and how we got it to work, right? Because they do break down the algebra, I will say that. They do a pretty good job doing that. So all these formulas here are going to run what your A and B exemptions are, that they itemize how to formulate those, your A and B exemption for if you're single or if you're married. And if you ever put the exemption, personal exemption of 2, which is this thing right here, if you ever choose 2 right here, you have to use the married formula on the rates, okay? Because it's assuming that you are married if you put a 2 there. All right, so even if you chose single here, but put a 2 here, you need to choose married here, essentially, because the block exemption means that you are either 1 single, 0 or 1 is single, and 2 is married, all right? So after all that's done, I'm not going to break down every formula. I'll show them really quickly how I did this so you can see and zoom in on the screen if you really want to go through it. It's way too boring to talk about, but this is how I did it, all right? And it does work. This is the married section right here. Married section and the married withholding amount with the rates involved. And the one it chooses whether or not you chose married or single to figure out what your actual withholding is. So it's going to simulate what it would have been if you're married or what it would have been if you're single. So let's go to the example and show you how that works. Their example 1, we're going to do both examples. Example 1 is taxpayer is a single taxpayer, it should say, 1 personal exemption and 2 dependency credits, $700 a week. Well, that means 1 personal exemption, 2 dependents. They are LA single, and the amount of money is $700 a week, which I already put in here. And the answer is $19.43 is your Louisiana withholding, and they said $19.42. As I always say, being off by a penny is okay with me. So that's fine. Now let's do the other one, and this really showcases the flexibility of the payroll file. So now it's saying do it with a married person. Do it with a married person. You heard it here first. Do it with a married person and do it with a different payroll period. Okay. So here's the example. 2 personal exemptions, 3 dependency credits, 4,600 bi-weekly. That means they get paid every 2 weeks. So let's start changing things. They have 2 under their block A exemptions. They have 3 under their dependents. They are LA married. So you scroll and find LA married. Okay. That's another option. Now, one more thing or 2 more things we have to do. One is we have to change the amount they're getting paid because they said that they're going to be getting paid $4,600 bi-weekly. And the other thing we have to do is change this to bi-weekly. So let's do that first. In order to change the pay frequency in the file, you go here, go from weekly to bi-weekly. And you have to change the number of pay periods in the year, which are no longer 52. They are now 26. So if you type 26, that's how many bi-weekly pay periods are in the year. You get that. This is going to process and change the whole dynamic of the file and make everything work on a bi-weekly structure and bi-weekly pay frequency. It's extremely smart. And it's taking care of that for us as this process is up here. And now it's done, I believe. So now we can go and enter that $4,200 in as the wage for the biweekly period, because pay period endings have just flipped to biweekly. Everything just totally changed, so that you can enter in and usually you have everything hidden except the area that you're using, which is why it's taking me a little while to scroll there because we're doing a ton of work at one time. But it's going to be right here, which is bonus or salary amount. You can see actually we have a 4,200 saved here in the subsequent pay period. So I didn't even need to go here because I actually already planned ahead. That means if we go to the pay stub and we change the pay period from the first period to the second one, here's our 4,200 bucks. And it says we withhold $136.72. What's the answer? No! What happened? What happened? Oh, it's 4,600, not 4,200. Duh. Sorry, I do need to fix that. It's 4,600. That's how much we're paying them. Let's go back to the pay stub. 4,600 right there. $157.12. $157.12. And by me accidentally screwing up that number, it proves to you how awesome this thing works, because you can't mess up and get it right in the same video if you didn't program this thing right. So that's what we did. And Louisiana now finally works, and it's with these additions of basically breaking this out into 7 columns right here, or more than that. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you can see the algebra play itself out here when you do this. But there you go, payroll in Excel, Louisiana. It is done. I don't know if there are any specific parish tax rates or anything. If they are, we need to add them to local, but I don't believe there are. We can check our local list real fast to see if I have anything there. Indiana, after Indiana's Oregon and Pennsylvania. So there's no Louisiana parish rates. If there are, we need to add them, but I wasn't aware of that. So guys, that is Louisiana is done. And one of it's been gnawing at my craw for many years. Louisiana getting it right. I finally figured out the algebra there, and that feels good. So Louisiana's done. And last time I was in Louisiana, I had a good time. I think I slept outside a truck stop because I was on my way to Tyler, Texas, and I just couldn't stay awake anymore. But Louisiana is not slightly over withholding anymore. Be like, Louisiana is revised. I know it's as of 2017, but we're going to say as of December 2022 because we fixed it. So Louisiana is now revised and looking good. And the next thing we get to do is Massachusetts. We're on our way to the Northeast. So good luck, everyone. Payroll should be easy, and we're making it so.